Back here at Boom and Bust, we're talking with Dan Kelly. He is the president of the Canadian Federation of Independent Business. Dan, one thing that keeps coming up in our political discourse in this country is the carbon tax, and the carbon
Yeah.
tax keeps going up and up. That can't be helpful. I guess April 1st, there might be another hike, it looks like.
Yeah, look, this has been a huge file for us at CFIB. There is a tiny bit of good news. Not that tiny, but after 5 years of collecting the carbon tax in most provinces, the federal government is finally going to return the rebates that they promised small business owners. That was a commitment they made in 2019. They didn't deliver it any of those years.
Wow.
And finally, this year, we've shamed them into returning the $2.5 billion that has been collected and earmarked for small businesses. And those checks are just going out right now.
Okay.
Uh, Interestingly, though, Tony, get this: the federal government's returning $2.5 billion. If you're set up as a business for automatic deposit with CRA, you'll get the money into your account, and a few have, which is great. But those that haven't signed up for that process, they're getting a paper check to return a portion of $2.5 billion. This is going out to 600,000 businesses, seemingly some potential good news from the government. And they put the checks in the mail
Oh, no.
during the mail strike.
It's
I
not nice.
almost lost it. And if you can believe it, a few weeks ago, the federal government told us that they were going to charge tax on the rebate they were giving to small business owners, not the rebate to consumers, but the rebate to small businesses. So I blew my stack on them on that. They switched gears, and now it is going to be tax free. The money is starting to flow, so that is good news. But
Good.
on the larger issue of the carbon tax, we've got an increase starting on April the 1st, as you said. So right after 6 weeks after the GST holiday ends, which is supposed to be making things less expensive for Canadians, we are going to have a 19% increase in the carbon tax, making those same items and thousands more expensive for Canadians. Uh, Heads are spinning among our members as to what the possible direction is from the federal government with
Right.
respect to affordability. But today, 83% of my members, small business owners, want the whole thing scrapped. They want the carbon tax to be ended, and that's what we're advocating for right now.
That's 80% of your members. That's a huge
83%, you got it.
majority. Yeah, exactly. Let's switch it around a little bit. What is CFIB saying governments have to do to offer
Yeah.
more help for small businesses?
Yeah, look, on the GST thing, I said, if the government was looking at cutting a few taxes, I have some ideas. And starting with the number one priority that our members have said is a further reduction in the small business corporate tax rate would be super helpful.
Mhm.
That did go down to 9%. Back in 2019, I think all political parties in 2015, all political parties, conservatives, liberals, NDP, all committed to reducing it to 9%. That finally happened. But now we're pushing for the threshold to go up, perhaps from 500,000 to 600,000, and to bring the rate down from 9% down to 8%, or a trajectory in that general direction.
Right.
We're really pushing hard to see some relief on EI and CPP premiums. Payroll taxes, as you well know, are really disproportionately affect small and medium-sized companies. So we're hoping to get some form of relief on that, particularly on EI. But there are a host of, and the carbon tax, of course, is right there on the top of the priority list.
And regulatory reform, do you get into that at all? Cutting
We
red
sure
tape?
do. I
Yeah.
remember those meetings with you years
Yeah.
ago
Yeah, that's right.
on,
Yeah.
on that file. But on red tape reform, there have been a lot of commitments made to try to do this better, not a lot of action. There has been some good progress on the provincial side of the equation. We're trying to get some movement on the interprovincial side, which has bedeviled us as Canadians for decades. Um, but but look, red tape reform. The two big powers government has. One is taxing and spending. We at least have budgets around that and some degree of discipline. But the other big power is passing laws and regulations. And there is very few measures of how we're doing on that front. So small businesses are not saying deregulate everything, but we are saying let's take out some of the nuisance rules and regulations. Let's review some of the old rules that are still on the books that aren't providing any value. As you regulate, I mean, you put in place a one for one rule, which is
Right.
still around, and that has been helpful. But after a number of years, we need to do better. We need to get some of the red tape irritants out of the way of small business owners so that they can focus on doing what they do best, and that is growing the economy and creating jobs.
And we're going to talk about this a little bit after the break, Dan. But of course, we also have to compete with other jurisdictions, most notably the United States in the Trump era. So let's talk about that after the break. That's an important topic. We'll be back after these messages.